All right, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Peaking Podcast. We have Joe Pasquale with us. He is co-founder of dotstudiopro, as well as founder of Chill Free TV. Joe, really excited to have you here. Excited to get to know your story and have the listeners learn and enjoy themselves. So you want to jump in and tell us about yourself?
Well, thanks for having me, Brian. Super excited to be here. So I'm Joe Pascual. I'm one of the co-founders of Dot Studio Pro. We've been in business for about 15 years now. We're a streaming video provider. So basically, what that means is companies come to us and they want to be their own streaming service, meaning they want to be their own Netflix or their own Hulu TV or Tubi TV, and we provide the tools for them to do that from a back-end perspective. Preparing their content, getting it ready for delivery, as well as building the apps and all the streaming apps that they possibly could need on all the devices that we support. So we've been doing that for, like I said, about 15 years, and quite recent. Well, I wouldn't say recently, but maybe in the last 3 to 4 years, we've shifted our focus into also having our skin in the game with content. So
Okay.
we've been distributing content ourselves and representing content on the ad revenue share side of things. So delivering content to platforms like Tubi TV, the Roku channel, any place that's ad supported for movies and television shows. And been doing that really well for the past 4 or 5 years that we've actually decided to grow that part of the business and merge with another company called Bayview Entertainment out of New Jersey that
Mm-hmm.
has been in the business and film distribution for many, many years. And so our combined efforts now has grown our library quite dramatically and grown our distribution pipeline quite dramatically. Yeah,
Very
that's what
cool.
we've been up to for 15 years.
Yeah. How did you get into it?
That's a great question. So I started off in post-production. So I was an editor for many years, edited feature films.
Mhm.
And my partner and I quickly realized, the advent of disruptive technologies like digital video and Final Cut Pro, nonlinear editing systems that people could use at home, that all of this work was going to start moving in-house.
Yeah.
Production companies ended up started doing all of this work themselves, and we decided that we needed to make some kind of pivot. And so we were like, okay, well, what's this new thing happening on the internet? YouTube had just come out, and we're like, well, this is the future. So we jumped headfirst into creating our own content. We joined a competition with Sundance and YouTube, came in runner-up, and then got represented by UTA. Spun a web series. I remember back in the day, the big thing was web series, right?
Yeah.
And so we did that for a little while, and then realized that really at that time there was no, monetization path for this type of content at all.
Mhm.
Like, how do you make money? Okay, that's great. So everybody can create all this new content, and I have all this power to do that, but where do you actually distribute it?
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well, the bottleneck is not in the content creation, it's in distribution, and distribution is technology. You have to somehow be able to distribute this online. And so we decided to build our own pipeline, and that's kind of how we shifted from post-production into development, and then tried to raise money. Had a hard time raising money in the beginning. So we're like, well, we've got developers now, we've got code. What do we do? So we leaned on our peers who were looking for the same kind of solution and said, hey, you want to buy what we're doing?
Yeah.
Basically financed our company through going out there and licensing our technology. And in a blink of an eye, we turned into from a content company into a tech company. So,
Yeah.
one of the weird things that happen in the space.
Plan or unplanned?
Completely unplanned. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny because I talk to, a lot of content-based companies right now who want to do similar things to what we're doing. And I'm like, be careful what you ask for, because, before you know it, you're going to be all full technology, because that's what happens.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and that's pretty much what happened to us. And it's taken us this long to kind of figure out how to aikido that back to our roots, which is, we're, hopefully being really successful now in doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the industry you are in and around is just the change has been so dramatic. It seems
Oh
like,
yeah.
which would be extremely challenging to have the longevity that you've had in the industry, and to keep it going and to keep on reinventing yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
it must be very challenging, rewarding, all the things. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Maybe a sidebar, but I'm really curious. So your first, the content you produced, can you tell us a little bit about that, like maybe a
Yeah.
fun story about what type of
Yeah.
content
Yeah.
you were
Yeah, for
doing?
sure. Yeah, yeah. Because I was in post, obviously I had relationships with producers and like I said, YouTube had just come out and they announced this competition with Sundance called Project Direct. It was the first year that they did the Project Direct competition. And basically what it was is that anybody could participate in the competition. They gave you 15 props, and these props were like famous props that had been in like, various famous movies.
Okay.
And you had to incorporate three of these props in your short and shoot them within a certain amount of time and then get it uploaded onto YouTube. And then people voted on it and they counted the views and whoever got the most views won, right?
Yeah.
And the writer who was working with us was so ambitious, he incorporated every single prop that they had on the list. And I
Hmm.
think that's what got us attention because the whole short was so seamlessly crafted that all these props were in there and it made complete sense.
Yeah.
I think that's what got us to go to Sundance, and won second runner up on that competition. So
Yeah. What a fun experience. Do you uh do you make any content yourself these days? I feel like I saw a few things of yours.
Not so much.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm also a musician, so that's kind of where my
I
creative
think that's
juices
what I saw.
run
Yeah.
outside of the tech. So
Yeah.
yeah, my wife and I have a band, Phoenix Five. We're I would say kind of a popular band in Florida. I mean, we play at least 3 or 4 times a week, and
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. Very cool. What do you play?
I'm a guitar player.
Guitar
Yeah,
player. Cool. Cool.
you play?
So I don't know. I'm just a avid listener and
Yeah.
enthusiast and dreamer. I am also a dreamer. I dream to have those skills, and I should just do it. And
Oh,
it's one of those
absolutely.
things you put off. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Well, cool. So, how was that transition from going from content to distribution into technology? Talk a little bit about that journey of yours.
Very, very one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my life. I mean, I
Hmm.
I think I'm prone to getting myself into trouble, just because sometimes when you're naive about certain things, that's how you end up, finding yourself trying to solve solutions that probably are a lot bigger than what you thought they were when you first
Hmm.
started into it. And in post production, I came from a very, very different culture. Everybody sort of knew what the end product was that you needed to do, and with this, it was like dealing with engineers, a lot of offshore engineering, so dealing with time zone issues, language issues,
Hmm.
and just overall learning curve of trying to be a technologist overnight.
Yeah.
From a creative standpoint, creative background was really truly challenging, but I'm very bullheaded, and I once I set myself towards a goal, I can't stop myself from doing it, and so ended up becoming a CTO, and even got nominated for CTO of the year one year for Business Journal, and
Yeah.
so really made
Wow.
that huge transition from creative to tech.
Yeah. What advice would you give people who are making a transition from wherever they were, but into technology? Maybe, I'm seeing with AI coming in, more and more people that maybe don't have your standard technical background, but they have some level of, industry expertise in whatever vertical they're in. And now
Yeah.
they're building a product and they're
That,
going down that path.
that's a great segue. It's fantastic because I think there's no better time than now to get your feet wet with that. Only because just like maybe if I compare it to like maybe filmmaking or production, the technology. curve has collapsed quite dramatically because of AI, right? And with that comes a lot of really big downsides to it too. And obviously the same thing when everybody could just pick up a camera and start shooting, you end up
Right.
with 80% of it stuff that really nobody wants to see, right?
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, for people that have an entrepreneurial sense about them, there's no better time than to do that right now because again, the barrier to actually get to product has quite considerably collapsed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, for what are some of the greatest challenges you experienced in your transitions, and what are things that people can keep in mind in making those leaps?
Um, that's a really good question. I think finding really good partners, having trusted, you still want to have people that are expert in the domain within your team. I think especially now when it comes to this whole concept of vibe coding, with AI, and it's something that I really just threw myself quite deeply in the last couple of months, is that there's this expectation that you can just suddenly just have these things do miracles for you,
Yeah.
and I personally couldn't have achieved the stuff that we're launching right now with Chill Free if I didn't have my back end engineering team, specifically my main back end engineer,
Yeah.
make sure that I'm not jumping off a cliff or not tripping all over myself.
Yeah.
You just because you can move super fast and it does sort of like seem like it does create magic in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
you called it vibe coding?
yeah, that's I don't know if you've heard that term before, but that's sort of the meme these days,
Okay.
right? Like that's what everybody calls it now. And
Yeah.
and really what it is it's a combination of
Yep.
prompting AI, the
Yep.
same way that you would interface with Chat GPT, like
Hmm.
people would do. Or using some form of code editor that sort of like co-writes with you using AI.
Yep.
So the whole concept behind it is that, you're not coding everything yourself. You're using AI to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. Yeah. I hear a lot of prompt engineering and things like that. I haven't heard
Right.
vibe coding. So, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Vibe coding, I think everybody has a different like idea of where that thing came from. But
Yeah.
once you start getting into it, there's something vibey about it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's why people have called it as like vibe coding because you kind of get into this flow where things move super fast and you kind of get into this space where you're sort of like in a hyper development mode because you're using something that is just responding so fast to what you need that it creates a vibe.
Yeah.
So that's my take on what that means.
Got
Yeah.
it. I like it. Um, and you said you're using Cursor. Is that your?
Well, Cursor is one of the tools. So
Yeah.
Cursor is an IDE. It's a text editor.
Yep.
Um, it connects to AI agents. It connects to whatever large language model that you're using
Yeah.
to lean on in terms of prompts. But it's also just like you could write code yourself in it, just like you would in any other editor. The only difference is it's connected to AI. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So when you were like kind of the early days of Dot Studio Pro, what was the problem you were trying to solve? What was the solution you're trying to deliver? And how did you come up with that? What brought you to that idea?
It really came from being an editor and having a post company and seeing so many independent films not make it. And I'm talking about like really, really well produced and really good storytelling. And just because the market is so flooded, I mean, like statistically at that time, you'd have 10,000 submissions to a film festival like Sundance.
Yeah.
Only 17 movies would actually get screened. Only two or three would get some sort of representation, actually maybe make it to a movie theater and get an audience. And so there was the big desire to get a new audience or get in front of an audience in a different way.
Hmm.
And the internet was really the answer to that for a lot of people. And so for some people, it was just like, well, I don't care if I monetize, I'm just going to start something on YouTube and just upload stuff on YouTube. My creativity can get seen directly by people. And some other people went like, hey, maybe there's a way to still have this, production value of creating something that requires a budget that needs to recoup somehow. And maybe the internet can still answer that. And, Netflix sort of fixed that a little bit, but only at the upper tier. It basically replaced what traditional media is. It didn't really solve the independent media problem that we were seeing. So that's how we came up with the idea, because it was really trying to solve that specific problem for our peers.
Yeah. Now, as you came up with the idea, how did you take that idea and turn it into a product, and how did that idea evolve over time as well? I mean, was that the idea that you delivered, or was it, okay, I have this idea and then that end solution, and how did that come to be?
Yeah, it was opening up Pandora's box, or that Russian
Right.
doll that just keeps on going,
Yeah.
Um, it started off really what we're doing right now, launching with Chill Free. That was our original vision. And that's like, 15 years
Okay.
later, it's ironic that finally we've gotten to where we started. And it's really, we wanted to launch our own network. We were
Hmm.
like, okay, we wanted to have a place where independent media, independent feature films that are not getting an audience, that deserve an audience, could find a home.
Yeah.
And when we decided to build that, we realized, number one, how cost prohibitive it was. What the tools were at the time were super expensive. Only the studios could afford them. And so the only way for us to actually own the tech is that we needed to license it to other people that needed it.
Hmm.
And so we became a tech provider. So we became a service company, just so that we could actually do what we needed to do. And
Yeah.
when you do that and you raise money and several rounds of financing and you have clients, you forget that original vision and you end up becoming something completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. How do you feel about that? I mean, when you become something different, did you struggle with that, or
Oh,
were you
100%. Oh
excited
yeah.
with it, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I personally struggled with it, immensely. But at the same time, it was like a problem that I just needed to solve. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, that this has to be within our reach, right?
Hmm.
So even if this means that I'm going through this complete roundabout way to kind of get to where I need to get to, it's still worth it because I'm learning so much. I'm immersing myself in something that I feel like is like really at the precipice of technology, where things are going.
Yeah.
And I have a front row seat to where the space is moving. So it was still exciting, regardless of where I was in that.
Yeah. So when was the aha moment to come full circle and get back to Chill Free TV? Was it? Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we've tried it several times to kind of get back to
Okay.
that original vision, and then we would get another huge client, or like get several huge clients, and then
Yeah.
our development track would get annexed. And I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. There are a lot of things, like I said, that you don't know when you get into this business. And this business is so new. When you go to the conferences for streaming media and all of that, you can kind of tell we're all just still groping for what this is.
Yep.
'Cause it's all still, there's nothing defined about it. It's not like making a movie, where we've been making movies since the 30s, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so with this, it's like, okay, well, we keep on starting it. We get distracted. We keep on starting it. We're going like, okay, well, maybe, it's not time. It's not time. And we just keep on inching at it and inching at it and inching at it. And then we have gaps in time where we feel like we can a lot more effort into it. And this just happens to be one of them where,
Yeah.
wow, okay, we're able to. And I think because of AI and because of vibe coding, I'm able to move the ball forward so much faster this
Yeah.
time around than I have in the previous times that we tried to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my follow-up question is kind of like what is different now, but I mean, it seems to be AI is
Oh,
the
100%.
the core factor.
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah. Yeah. And it's fascinating how that worked out. Yeah.
What do you think that's doing on maybe on both sides of the coin? So not just from your standpoint, but how it's also just impacting the industry and content creation and reaching customers and if you're like who are all the like what's your life cycle like, who are all the parties, and who's being impacted in on AI, and how is that shaping the big picture
Yeah.
for you?
I mean, it's impacting us on every level, right?
Hmm.
I mean, we distribute and we build streaming services for film and TV content, right? So we're impacted by Hollywood and disruptions that happen within Hollywood on a much
Yeah.
larger scale. At
Yep.
some point trickles down to us. We're impacted on the tech side. because of AI coding and all of that, and how that's impacting engineering and the mindset of how people are and how they build this kind of this type of service. So all of that is sort of like happening all at the same time.
Hmm.
And then you go into AI generated video, which we're literally right at the excuse me, my dog is just going nuts.
It's okay.
Literally at the precipice of that being a reality. I mean, it is already a reality for short form. Give me one second. Let me just let the dog out here.
Sure, sure.
There you go. Barking at the door.
I got a Malamute, so she
Oh, okay.
howls at me all day long, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah, we're really at the precipice of like a full feature film being completely generated without any actors, no producers, no lighting package, no
Mhm.
composer, no. Yeah, I mean that's happening right now. It's not in
Yeah.
the movie theater right now, but it's being made right now.
Yeah.
And
I'm seeing a
so,
lot of like shorts that are coming up, you know,
oh
feature
yeah,
film
oh yeah,
shorts that are
yeah,
like
yeah.
phenomenal, you
Oh,
know.
phenomenal. It's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah,
you have to take away your emotional feeling towards that and feel like,
sure.
okay, well, that's, it's not, we're real actors or real, how is that going to disrupt everything? And just overall with AI, you kind of have to come to grips that there's really nothing you can do about it. It's happening. Whether we like it or not, that's the new world that we're moving into. And
Yeah.
these are the things that are going to happen. We are going to see, completely AI generated feature films with people that look like real people acting in real scenes with
Hmm.
real camera movements and listening to score that sounds like it was composed by Hans Zimmer.
Hmm.
Um, and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Very
yeah.
interesting. So who are tell us about like who your customers look like? What does that make up? What type of content are they producing and hosting?
hmm Yeah, I mean, a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, we run the gamut. We predominantly focus on film and television type content, but also news, also sports. Those are two pretty big verticals for us in the streaming world, especially when it comes to the ad monetization side of things.
Yeah.
So, we have publishers, we have sports teams, news agencies. It runs the gamut, right, in
Across
terms
the
of
board.
content. Yeah.
Where do you see like the largest growth sectors? What's getting the most viewership?
I mean, sports always is a big thing, right?
Okay.
It's gone through many incarnations in the streaming world, but it always sort of like ranks at the top up there, and it's just because there's just huge demand for access to sports.
Hmm.
So sports is definitely very big. News is definitely very big. And film and television is getting a facelift right now. So we're trying to figure that one out.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why it still keeps me up at night because this is one of those things where, the puzzle pieces haven't quite entirely fit yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems, well, the way we consume media and our attention spans, right? It's like that's
Yeah.
like a big topic. And, how are you seeing that impact film, TV,
hmm
media from your
Yeah.
side?
It's very big. I mean, because of the internet and because of a multi-device universe that we live in, film and television that's now consumed on the largest screen in your house, maybe,
Mhm.
right? It's competing with your time looking at your phone and your time doing social media or your time on TikTok or your time on AI, on Chat GPT. It's
Mhm.
all competing with that, and people are multitasking. It's unbelievable how fast you can bounce back and forth between watching a series and being on your phone. So it's a tricky thing. Film and TV never used to compete for that.
Right.
You're in a dark movie theater with no distractions where they tell you to turn your phone off. Where
Yeah.
that's not the case anymore. And generationally, people are growing up in this completely new world where, why can't I do all of it at the same time? Like,
Yeah.
it has to be so good that you want me to stare at the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like that. It's like, I mean, it's you could see the impact, and just even just like retaining the information because you're not really locked into it. And I
Oh
think that
yeah, yeah,
is the
yeah. Oh
big
yeah.
thing of it. It's like, what did you just say to me? I could see it with my kids. You're like
Oh
talking,
God, yeah,
they're like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that fragmented sort of like behavior too, right? Because I do feel like, I mean, and there's a lot of people that talk about, that I think the human brain can't really like keep up with this much bombardment of information,
yeah,
from so many screens, all the time. So
hmm
so it's a tough one, man. That's what I'm saying. We're also trying to figure this one out, because we do at heart believe in the whole storytelling process and immersing yourself in something, that you can sink your teeth into. And it's still, when it does work, it still works, man. It's unbelievable. I mean, look at what Top Gun did. Look at what some of these movies are still doing in a movie theater where they'll get record attendance
hmm
out of nowhere.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think, yeah, we'll all have to navigate around what all that means.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tom Cruise is the goat, so
Oh
it's,
God, yeah, yeah,
come
yeah,
on,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It means that in order for you to get box office hit, you need to do all your stunts. You need to jump off a plane.
exactly, exactly.
That's what you got to do.
Got to do it. Got to do it for sure. Well, so a lot of our listeners are people who are, as I mentioned, could like that individual who is potentially thinking or has started creating a
Right.
product.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey for you, even just like
Mhm.
your co-founder relationships, building teams. What does some of that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it was trial and error. I mean, I've owned several businesses before this one, but they were very much like owned and operated businesses. I had employees, but this is the first business where I had legitimate co-founders and we raised money and
Yeah.
we're beholden to shareholders and all of that. I mean, what's the best advice with that? I mean, I just say it's all a journey. I mean, you have to look at it for what it is. It's all about learning. It's all about expressing yourself, and it's all about, um, learning what the next step brings you. And I'm a firm believer of like if you do good work, good things happen.
hmm
The rest of it is like you can learn. The rest of it you can navigate. You'll make mistakes. I think it's super exciting now in the sense that there's so much you can do on your own without this feeling of dependency towards something. Like, when we started this business, it was like, okay, in order for us to get from point A to point B, we needed to do these X, Y, Z. We needed to raise money. We needed to do this. We needed to do blah, 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 blah. We needed to hire. We needed to interview people to do this. I mean, not to beat the AI thing, dead, but there's so much now that you can empower yourself with that you
hmm
can be so much further ahead before you even bring in a partner or before you even bring in financing. I
Yeah.
think that's the one thing that I would say as advice is that, you know, um, equity is important, retaining as much equity as you possibly can
Yeah.
and knowing, it's a fine thing, knowing also when to loosen up because the sum of the parts is greater than just the thing that, 20%, of something huge is definitely still a lot larger than 100% of nothing. But you can certainly make that single pie of yours so big by yourself now because of
Yeah.
all the tools that you have at your fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that a lot, and it's also retaining the ability to make decisions and
Oh
own the
yeah,
vision and
100%. Yeah.
keep your North Star. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's a
Keep it
big
moving.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I'm so excited about what we're going through right now. I mean, like, I haven't sat in front of a code editor in years,
hmm
I really transitioned from like being an editor into post, into having to learn how to code and then hire engineers that were far more talented than me and learning how to delegate all of that to people that understood that way better than I could have ever understood it. So I haven't really had this interaction again.
hmm
And now I'm just like going like, oh my God, like I wish I had this 15 years ago, man.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I bet.
it's unbelievable, because it's like, and I tell my wife this too. Phoenix she's my wife and she's also my partner in the business.
Yeah.
She's the kind of person that's also so highly creative that having AI now at her fingertips, it's just like her dependency of other people is like, wow, now I can like just go. I have an idea. I can see this prototype through and kill it if it's a bad idea quicker than me waiting another 2 months and roping in so many people to figure out it's not really a good idea to begin with. So it's like, yeah, it's amazing.
Iterations. Are
Yeah.
you changing the way you think about even just hiring and building teams? I mean, obviously you
Yes.
are, right?
100%.
Obviously.
100%. Yep. 100%.
Are there certain skill sets you're looking for or
Oh yeah.
thinking about? Like
Yeah.
what are some skill sets that stand out to you that are just critical that AI is not doing very well right now?
Um, yeah. I mean,
Back end, I've heard that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, domain expertise is like you can't really, I mean, these large language models, they're learning in such a general sense, right? There's not,
Mhm.
you can't replace somebody who's been in the trenches of doing something for 15 years who,
Yep.
it's just like the same thing. You can go to school, but it ain't until you go into the workforce that you learn the things that you're supposed to learn. So those things I think are irreplaceable. I think we're also on the flip side of that, really evaluating people that have the conversational domain to interface with AI. Because the one thing we are noticing is that, it can be a hindrance with people that are very talented in one thing, you know,
Mhm.
and so their resistance towards this new technology is so great that
Yeah.
they can't stop themselves from wanting to like take over and do it themselves, where that's sort of like not how you make this thing work. The way
Yeah.
you make AI work is there's a whole conversational thing that has to happen with it, and learning how to communicate with it, and learning how to make it tell you how to communicate with it so that it can communicate better. It's a feedback loop that happens.
Interesting.
And some people find that challenging, but I'm finding that it's also learnable. Like it's an incredibly learnable skill.
Yeah.
I just think that there may be some people that may not want to do that at all. And those are going to be people I think that might have a harder time moving forward in this whole new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Maybe, one or two lessons that you've learned that you would like to share with those other founders out there, as we start to close things up,
Yeah.
what advice would you give?
Do you want it specific to interfacing with AI? Because I can definitely, I mean, I'm
Great.
literally right in the thick of that, so it's like
Yeah.
it's all very fresh. Yeah. So, yeah, and obviously it's also my firsthand experience with it, and also obviously I've immersed myself with a lot of thought leadership on YouTube and on podcasters, and a lot of people that have like been into this whole space a little bit longer than I have, right?
Yeah.
And really, what it is, it's learning how to communicate with this new technology is a learned skill.
Hmm.
And once you sort of unlock it, it's almost like a video game where you figure out the levels,
Hmm.
and it's all about the way you unlock it, and the way you get the keys to the next level is figuring out how it can communicate better with you. And it's the only system, and I'm not making this up because somebody else has said it in the past. It's the only technology where, or only resource or technology where you can ask it how it can better ask you to give it prompts and tasks to do. And so in my journey with like Chillfree and building Chillfree with AI, the times where I felt like, okay, I hit a roadblock and okay, this is not working, right?
Hmm.
It's doing a lot of really weird stuff. It starts to hallucinate. I don't know if you know much about hallucinations,
Yeah.
AI hallucinations and all that stuff. I had to really take a step back and go like, hey, wait a minute. Like, what am I putting out there? Like, how am I communicating this?
Mhm.
Let's just take a breather, because I want to know that it understands what it is that I want.
Yeah.
So, but it's the only thing that you can actually ask. Can you tell me what you think I want?
Yes.
And then when it gives it back to you, now you have confidence. Oh, now we're on the same page. I get it. And all of a sudden it unlocks the whole thing. And then that's when all that magic starts to happen, and it
Yeah.
starts creating stuff that's really in alignment with what it is that you want to do. So, it's a remarkable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting. I mean, um, I don't know if I'd say less on the technical, but I'm using it every day, right? And it's something that I did ask that question. I was like, who do you think I am? You know,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
tell me
you went
about
super
myself.
existential. Yeah. Okay.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's
what's
great.
my tone? Like
Right.
how like
Yeah.
like let's, and then
Yeah.
it like gave me a thing. I was like, okay, this is wrong, this is correct.
Yeah.
Let me change this a little bit for you. Here's a better, let me paint this picture better for you. Does that make sense? And it was, you know, um, but then it started to better tailor, Things.
Right. Yeah.
It became, the conversation became easier.
Became easier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
isn't that interesting? And my Phoenix said something yesterday in another interview we were talking about. She went like super, like you just went existential on that, but she just went super spiritual yesterday, where she was talking about it's like it really sort of mirrors your life too, in a sense where what you put out is kind of what comes back.
yeah.
And if you're specific with what you put out into the world and how it comes back to you, it really sort of mirrors that same relationship when you're interfacing with a technology like this.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's like a sort of like self-responsibility thing. You can get mad at it and go like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Like this is terrible."
Yeah.
But it's really like, wait a minute, like did I set this up correctly?
Yeah. It's a
Maybe not.
relationship.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
strange.
yeah. It's
It's
very
strange.
strange, man. It's
Yeah.
very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to remind yourself, it is still tech. Be
Yeah.
careful. Don't get don't get sucked into the other part of it. But
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sure. I'm sure that's happening all over the
Oh
place.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely happening. Yeah, you
Yeah.
hear really bizarre, weird stories. But then again, there's bizarre things that happen all the time. So
Yeah. True
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. Very cool. Well, where can listeners find you? How can they connect?
yeah, sure.
What can this
Yeah.
community do for you? Do you have any asks?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so Chill For You will be launching soon. It'll be chillforyu.tv. Dot Studio Pro is our company, streaming service provider company, Dot Studio Pro. You can check that out online. I'm on LinkedIn, Joe Pasquale. I'm on Facebook. My band's on Facebook. If you want to check that out, it's called Phoenix 5, named after my one and only. Phoenix5live.com is our website if you want to check out our band.
Very
If
cool.
you're in the Florida area, come check us out. But stay tuned. And yeah, feel free to shoot me an email. Any questions you have, if anything based on entrepreneurship or AI, I'd be more than happy to answer if I can.
Very cool. Well, Joe, pleasure. It's been fun. Really great
Thanks,
conversation.
Brian. Yeah, appreciate it, man.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.